Hello, everyone, and welcome to Auto Asphyxiation. This is Lark.
And Kimberly.
That's right. And we are here talking about New Jersey because we are a New Jersey show. Last week, we were talking about the Green Party and their interesting candidate, Stephen Zelensky. And you wrote a really good piece, and it's up on Spaces Media Production. But I want to say that something about what I want to know from him, because this isn't quite clear from everything he said, but I want to know his stance on vaccines and immunizations. What about you, Kimberly?
Oh, I absolutely agree. In fact, I need Stephen, who flirts with RFK Jr.'s crackpot theories by being a part of a MAHA, Make America Healthy Again, New Jersey group on Facebook. I need him to be definitive about his vaccine stance in this climate of pseudoscience and quackery.
Yeah, exactly. Because we're not saying one way or the other. We're just saying it smells like a duck, it quacks like a duck. I don't know if I'm saying that right. Anyway, but we're not saying you're a duck, Stephen. But we do want some clarity, and we will be reaching out to you in regards to that. But okay, again, the whole theme last time was you're no Mamdani, Stephen. I said the Green Party, but I said, but anyway, of course, Communist Party USA has jumped into the fold on teen memes, transit teens. I'm part of this group called Transit Teens, and essentially all these urbanists, all of us are on this group, and we talk about urban issues. We talk about bicycles and buses and bicycles and trains and bicycles and okay. But we ran into this piece by the Communist Party. It was said essentially we can't support Mamdani because his policies of a free bus, it is reductive, meaning that it's recessive tax, which means that the tax costs you more money if you have less money. They were saying that because of the transit fee. So the fee, the transit fee. Oh, sorry, the toll that we have. They have to pay. People in North Jersey have to pay, and people I think I want to say Long Island have to pay in order to get into Manhattan, and how it's not fair. And I was very much like, what? Like they said that, yeah, that's what they said, and I was really confused. What are your thoughts?
Well, that really confuses me as well because, like, it's, to come out so boldly against a fantastic change making candidate like Mamdani, it's, it speaks to me that you only have a love for revolution and not for your fellow man.
Yeah, this is what I kind of thought was the problem with it. It was just kind of like, wow, don't we want to win? People say, oh, we're not accelerationists. We're not trying to go towards the beat of the revolution. But then a candidate who is great wins, and you kind of say, oh, it's not fair because people who have cars are being treated unfairly. Now, the thing is this: we understand. We both lived in California, so we understand that California has a different kind of a paradigm or model. But in New York City, the vast majority of people driving into New York are doing it because they have privilege, they have money. You have to have a certain kind of money and lifestyle to drive into Manhattan every single day and to pay for the parking. It's just, I mean, what are your thoughts on that, Kimberly?
Well, I think that, congestion pricing is overall a success already. It's been a success. It's been meeting its metrics. And when we're talking about people that absolutely have to drive into the city for their car, for their job, or what have you, we're talking about a minority of people that have to absolutely. Like, I had the same conversation with my dad, and he was like, "What about the technician that has to have inventory on him at all times?" Like, okay, I empathize with that technician, but he's the minority of people who are driving into Manhattan.
Oh my gosh, and this is so frustrating. It's like every time, like when we were talking about this on the interweb, there were people who would pop on going, "Well, sometimes I drive to New York City in the evening. What does it have to do with this conversation?" This has absolutely. It's so even the take by the Communist Party. What an individualist take. Oh, this one particular person can't take the bus or the train because they're allergic to the public. so so it's not fair. I feel like if you are willingly causing negative externalities, like, you deserve a punitive consequence. And in regards to that, I mean, you're polluting the air, you are adding to the noise, you're adding to the chorus of weaponry that is a car, which kills the second largest amount of people after the gun. It used to be number one, but as you know, our country has changed a little bit. And it is, to me, just it's so frustrating to me. It's such a dishonest argument, especially in New York City, the one place we really do have shockingly good public transit, I would say.
And let's talk about congestion pricing as a measure of justice. Let's talk about the fact that it brings about, like, the most people that live near highways are Black and brown people. Those people that live near highways have higher rates of asthma and respiratory disease. Congestion pricing and reducing the amount of car exhaust and therefore pollution is justice, in that it will bring about cleaner air and therefore less asthma and less respiratory illnesses for those communities that live close to highways.
Being a Los Angeles person, I was so Los Angeles centric thinking about it. I was just thinking people aren't driving their cars in. I forgot I was told by people in New York City it's so much more quiet. The air is better because there are fewer people driving in, and that you can't even imagine. I remember going into Manhattan when they did put the tolls. I felt so much like I felt like the streets were even more accessible because it wasn't as crowded. There was still the amount of people, but it wasn't as crowded. So, like, thank you for like uplifting that, Kimberly, because I forgotten about that angle because I am so trained to be, well, what about, like, oh, I'm not driving there, but not even thinking about the destination, the place that is a destination, or the places that people drive through, that they are where people live and play. And now that air is like fresh, and that is just like a wonderful thing. And now we're going to go into property taxes, but also the fact that property taxes, they're by city. And so you have situations like East Orange where they almost went bankrupt over the district, right? I mean, the school district, like they had to close days from school.
Yeah, they had to lay off so many teachers that for a time that they had to go half days in the school district.
That is wild to me, especially considering Essex is a relatively well-to-do county. The parts that are predominantly white are a well-to-do county. We have Glenridge, we have Montclair. If you didn't know, Stephen Colbert lives there. Oh, I think Adam Sandler is also living in Montclair while he's shooting his movie. So yes, just so the public knows, we live in a kind of halfway fancy neighborhood. So we could, if Essex was a city, the way it actually, to me, it's functionally a city. It's politically a county, but functionally it's a city. Imagine the kind of education everyone could get instead of everyone just hoarding their money, and going, oh, well, I worked hard for racism in the 50s, so now because that seems to be, because if you were able to get a house in the 50s or 60s or 40s or 20, any of these time periods, and you happen to buy in Montclair or you happen to buy in Glenridge, you're going to be doing considerably better than people who were not able to do that. So it's almost like you got some kind of benefit from not being a part of the population that was redlined. And go ahead.
No, you're absolutely right. And the property taxes, the way that New Jersey and Westchester work, the way that the property taxes fund schools. So it effectively segregates people, because if you can't afford the property taxes in a nicer neighborhood that has a nicer school district, then that effectively segregates your children away from that better funded school district. Your children have to go to a less well funded school district.
Exactly. So the property taxes are higher the more resource schools, and the property taxes are lower, or people are not paying their, the property taxes because they're going to some redevelopment project. Because this is another thing that they do and I cannot for certain say that is happening in Essex, because I have to say I have not looked yet. In Los Angeles, I know what they do is they take you, if you or live in a neighborhood that is zoned as a redevelopment zone, they can take those property taxes and funnel them into private businesses so that so that they can kind of get a little kickback for having to be in a neighborhood with the likes of you. This is essentially like how they this is how they, another another way that they steal from under-resourced neighborhoods, which I think is something we don't really even think about. I'm pretty sure they are probably doing that in Essex County. I'll look it up and then we'll talk about that, because I think that maybe it's a topic that we should kind of talk about. And we already talked about the fact that should drive. Do you? Oh, you already said you think the tolls are a good idea, so we don't have to get into that. But I think about a lot of times I hear about my neighbors complaining about their property taxes. Think about if we did have, if Essex was one city. Think about if Hudson was one city, Union was one city, and the property taxes and the taxes would go down for everyone. This is not like something that would hurt anybody. And then the economies of scale would make it so much cheaper for people to provide their towns with police service, fire department, schools. They can even, where I live, we don't have free childcare. Newark has free childcare. East Orange has free childcare. We, for some reason, don't have free childcare. I have my suspicions as to why this area does not have free childcare. I'm really kind of disturbed as to people complain about the taxes here, but as an economist, I have given people I've given people alternatives, options of what you can do. Here's how much you can save if you all became one city. And people are like, whoa, what about the schools?
The schools would actually be better off. Regional cooperation lowers overall costs. When that vast system of wealth from cities like Montclair, Glenridge, West Orange, when that flows into all of Essex County and you become one unified school district, you can eliminate so many administrative salaries. And that money can then go back into schools. Property taxes can become lower. Public transportation can become better. And it increases the social justice in the area that we would live in, because better funding for education, public health, and public transportation in areas that have traditionally low income people living in them have lower property taxes, and they can then reap the same benefits that places like Montclair, Glen Ridge, and West Orange do.
Yes, this is true. So this is something that we should really think about, and also think about the fact that when we have redevelopment and how they take some of the property taxes from these redeveloping areas, and they take even still more from the schools that have already been stolen, is also a problem that we need to talk about. And with that, I'm just kind of very confused as to why the Communist Party felt the need to say, well, we can't support we can't support Mamdani. I thought that was a really weird take. Like, you'd have to do that now. At some point, okay, it's like, okay, are you being bought by someone? Are you trying to sabotage yourself? Is this really about the fact that we speed up capitalism, and then if we speed up capitalism, we could get to the revolution, and then we could get to socialism, then we could get to communism? Is this really about that? Because I think about now, and we're going to go into Marx, which I know is that's a bizarre jump. It's really not. It's really not.
No, it's not. And I agree with you. Like we can obviously, like, every politician, everybody that wins an election is a human being, and they have faults as well as good points. But yeah, why do we have to say that right now, when this is such a big victory for the left in general? People are happy about it. Why are other leftists refusing to show any kind of solidarity with those that are gaining momentum?
It can't just be the fact that it's like, okay, I understand we have all we have, 3 or 4 different factions of socialism. This can't be about the fact that you're jealous that DSA was able to get a candidate through before PSL or the Communist Party. I mean, the thing is that you have to be smart. And clearly, some people in some of these parties aren't running to win. They're running to lose. And they're running because they feel like, and possibly, and it's just the whole thing. I feel that Marx has been misread, and I feel that Marx has been misunderstood. And this is just me. But I think about, the phrase that he says, to each according to his ability, to each according to his need. I think I might have botched that that dictum, but this is something I think is used constantly up to kind of say we need to own the means of production. So if we own the means of production, so we need to speed up capitalism so that the revolution can come, because we can never stop producing. We need to own the means of production. We need to speed it up, and then capitalism will disappear. And I think the problem with that is we're going to destroy the planet. And I know that sounds I feel as if, I don't know. If we're obsessed with producing items, producing commodities that have use value, we're so obsessed with that, then we're not thinking about how we're exploiting the earth to do that, how we're exploiting the environment to do that, how we're exploiting nature in order to do that. And we kind of take that dictum from each according to his ability to each according to his needs, we essentially turn this into a production, everything we do into producing things and creating consumers. And I think about, I'm going to bring up Sato, even though I'm going to say something. His book, Degrowth, there are some parts of it I liked, and some parts of it I were kind of like, I don't know where you're going here with this. So I'm saying this by saying there was some parts I liked, the fact to replace a kind of like factory focused like socialism with something more like livable and just. Because and this is not, to me, this is what I think Marx was saying. I don't feel like he was just saying, let's just work ourselves to death. Like the whole point of this is work and labor and production. I mean, I could be wrong, but I don't feel that. I don't feel like that's what he was trying to get at.
Well, and I think that, I think that like many heroes in history, that Marx has been deified to some extent. And in deifying him, his words have been cemented and not allowed for greater exploration and nuance. I don't think that Marx could have imagined that the techno fascism that has its boot on our neck right now. I don't think that he could have imagined the vast bot farms and AI slop that is being forced upon us. So we owe it to Marx's legacy to look at his words through the lens of the present and a human eye. Because you're right, why would he want factory work to continue and expand with human labor instead of us harnessing new tech so that we can lead a life of relatively low but fulfilling human-driven work and leisure?
Exactly. I'm like very confused with this. Anytime people can get relief, it's viewed as this the lumpen proletariat has to continue to suffer, because if we're not suffering, and here's the thing, the reason I have an issue with this is because a lot of times the view of the lumpen proletariat would be me, right? So I have a black person. They don't. No one talks. Everybody's talking in code. But the thing is that I feel that the reason why it seems, if you're on the left, it might seem like they get a little bit more upset with African Americans that kind of have a middle class lifestyle, more so than everybody else. And I've always felt the reason for that is because of the prophecy of the revolution. So if the lumpen proletariat comes up, that means it's going to take just that much longer for the revolution to come. I know that sounds, and you're probably like listening to this, like, what in the Lord of the Rings hell are you talking about? And I'm like, I also feel the same way. What are these people talking about? Because essentially, anytime people can get relief, they call it reformism and act like it's a bad word. So what are they actually trying to say when they're calling anything that gives anyone relief, or like, oh, you can read a book, that's reformism. You can enjoy yourself, that's reformism. Because I mean,
you're having avocado toast, that's reformism.
It literally is. And how are we going to how are we going to be liberated when we're going to be too exhausted and too broken down? We're going to be like broken down, like abused victims. And like, it's kind of like being locked in a house in a basement, have no one to talk to you, being fed gruel. And then in 30 years, okay, you're free. Well, free to do what? You just be so disturbed.
Exactly. And isn't that what the oligarchs want? The oligarchs want us worn down and tired and not able to fight back for ourselves. Like, you can't continue to go just a little bit more, just a little bit more. The year is 2025. With all of the science, all of the medical progress that we've made, the social justice progress that we've made, the suffering of children on ventilators is not acceptable for you to reach revolutionary glory.
Oh man, that's actually very true. And this, I think a lot of this has to do with our puritanical roots in the United States. The Puritans were a big part of the beginning of this country, and evangelical Christianity is another part of it. And I think about the originalism, I think, I don't know if we have a name for it, but I'll call it an originalism reading of Marx. And it becomes almost like religious. It reminds you of evangelical Christianity or constitutional originalists. And the problem with those two things are that both of those groups, originalists in the Constitution and evangelicals, they are abusive, authoritarian people. And if there are sections of the left that are doing that, that's slightly terrifying to me because they're so serious. They're so serious. Like, I think that there's one guy, I want to call him, he has this book, and let me try to find the name of the book, because I should remember the name of the book. His oh gosh. Oh, Bastani, Fully Automated Luxury Communism. I mean, he's so obsessed with the whole idea of a revolution, accelerationism. Essentially, there's a belief that for some people, there's a belief, and this is on the left, that the climate crisis, or this is on the left and the right, kind of, the climate crisis is over. Like, not over. There's no way for us to fix it. The only way for us to fix it is to produce more so that we can, like, develop the technology to fix it. Like, we're too far gone past the way of being able to do modifications or adaptations. So what we have to do is go all out, run all out, make as much money as possible so that we can use that money to create the technology to outrun the climate crisis. Okay, yeah, that's a real thing. So that is, but I don't know if they actually believe that, or that's just another way for them to push accelerationism. You know what I mean? Like, they're like, oh yeah, this is a climate centric accelerationism. It's they always got some reason why they have to continue to push, like, this sadistic, like, non-reformist, just, keep running and running idea. They say different lies to get away with it, but at the end it ends up being the same thing.
No, and I think accelerationism is absolutely a leftist flavor of climate denial and climate accelerationism. It removes any safety nets in favor of a fantasy revolution, and it leaves the most vulnerable of us, who are the elderly, the disabled, and children, even more at risk of harm. And they're the ones who are sacrificed for a bloody revolution.
And that is the thing that I think that bothers me, is that the same people keep getting hurt by these interesting games, and they're able to escape to another country, or to get a fellowship, or to get food, or to fly to Mars. Okay, I don't know if that's going to happen, but it seems like, I don't know what fantasy fiction. No, I have ideas of what fiction that they're reading, but we need to somehow come up with a counter. I think that's another thing that we need to do. Come up with a counter narrative to combat this bizarre fantasy that so many people who believe in, I call it the patriarchy, disasterism type, like, I want to save you. And that seems to be a big part of the left and accelerationism. And here's the thing, there are people who are doing it on the right too, and they are important, but they're probably not our audience. So it's no reason for us to have a conversation about people who, or chances are, we believe that Trump is a horrible person. We have an issue with the very kind of moderate Democratic Party that is in bed with neoliberalism. We understand all these things, but we also, I feel like we need to have a conversation about the fringe movements around the left, just because they've been so influential in creating an alternative that isn't inspiring, I would think. Like, I think we need an inspiring alternative. They're interesting, but in a bad train wreck way.
I feel like a lot of the American left are very all or nothing. And that's a very American attribute. Americans are we want our instant gratification. We want our Amazon package within 2 days. Like, we want that stuff to happen right away. So because of that, instead of looking at small victories and seeing any glimmer of hope along the way, they're miring themselves in doomerism. And they're not seeing incremental improvements as one of the many paths to long-term liberation.
Yeah, that's exactly true. Like they want a revolution tomorrow. And here's the thing: it's just so interesting. You would think they would have at least planned for it. Haven't planned for it. It's like I guess I feel like they plan things so big it paralyzes them, or actually, I should use the term. It freezes them into inaction because instead of going, "Hey, let's run for school board," no, no, no. Let's run for president, or well, why can't you just start small?
Start small.
Win a few school board races. Win have a party where friends come over. That starts small baby steps. I mean, if you can't even invite 5 people over to your house, maybe you're not the guy to start a revolution. That's just me. I feel like that's a small step. Will 5 people come to your house for free food and drinks? If the answer is no, you're probably not the one to run the revolution. And I'm not trying to be mean to you, but some of you out there really need to have a reality check.
No, I absolutely agree with you. And the inability to celebrate along the way towards true liberation really gains you no followers, doesn't gain you anybody who's going to vote for you. Instead, what it does is it depresses them and keeps them home and keeps them doing absolutely nothing.
And I know for some people that is the goal. The goal is to keep you home and do nothing. Because another part of accelerationism is not just, poking the bear, but just getting people to do nothing. Because if they do nothing, essentially what has happened will happen, such as the MAGA situation. Well, don't vote, don't go out, the duopoly. And so then we know that now we have this unchecked maniac in the White House and all of his little friends in Congress. So we see what will happen if they have no checks and balances. And I feel like somebody in some little evil accelerationist room, maybe that Zizak guy, is somewhere sitting there laughing. This was the plan. Like we got him now. Now they're on the revolution's just one more horrible thing if he does one more horrible thing to them, they're going to rise up tomorrow for sure. And it's like, wow, like nobody's rising up yet.
Well, and that's the thing is I joke, I've been joking with my husband that the NRA, okay, like we've been waiting for you to rise up against a tyrannical government. Now's the time. The people who are so thirsty and so hungry for a revolution, do it. Do it.
They have yet to do it. So this right here should be proof to anyone. You could do a whole lot of horrible things to Americans and they will do absolutely nothing.
Absolutely nothing.
They'll just pass memes around. That's horrible. Oh my God. That's screaming like I just typing at 2:00 in the morning about how they're sad and wish they had some ice cream. I'm like, wow, if you know what, if anybody thought accelerationism had any validity or any chance of happening, this should be proof to you right now. Nobody's rising up. This is a bad plan. So whatever magic is behind this plan, please stop it. Like, it's not going to work. We're not getting up from the computer.
I don't think they have a plan. And the experiences that you and I have had in the past, where you and I met, to me, proves that they don't have a plan.
They can't even book a Zoom room. And with that, do you have anything to add, Kimberly?
Good.
You're good. Okay. All right. So, folks, that is all. And you have a very good evening. I hope you're staying cool. I don't know. It's going to be hot tomorrow. It's going to be hot the next day, too. So, stay cool and all that good stuff.
Subscribe. Thank you for listening.